In this project, we're going to create a complete restaurant website in the desktop, tablet, and mobile layout. And we're also going to create a prototype for the entire thing. So this is the home page for our website. I'm just going to scroll down to show you what it looks like. And then we also have, since this is a working prototype, I can go to the menu page, which is the next page after this. So we have the menu page, and once again, I could just show you some of the items there. And let me say I wanted to go to the reservations page. I can just click on this button to take me to the reservations page, and there you go. We are in the reservations. We have all of this. I can just show you the page. Let me say let's go to the events page, and all those links are active. I can also go back to the home page using that button, and we are back in the home page. This is the tablet layout. So let me go back to home. So this is the home page for our tablet layout, and I can say let me use this button to go to the menu, and we are currently in the menu page. This is the menu for the tablet layout. Let's go to maybe the gallery page, and we are currently in the gallery. And let me say I want to go to the contacts page. These are also active links that will take us to the contact. So we're not going to go through all the pages. I just want to show you a few. And then we have the mobile layout. So I'm just going to scroll down so you can see part of it. Then if I open this overlay, we can go to, let's see, the about page in the mobile layout. So we are currently in the about page, and I could say what page. Let's go to contacts. So we are in the contact page of the mobile layout. I could go back to home, this overlay. Let's go to I think we just came from the about page. Let me go back to reservations. So let's see the reservations page. This is the reservations page in the mobile layout. We're also going to create a sort of dark version of it, although we're going to make some changes. As you can see in the hero section of this one, I've changed the image, and in some cases I changed some details. This one remained the same. The image is about to load. This image is different from the original, and I also changed this section. Some of the changes I make during this project, others you're going to do by yourself. This one is not a working prototype. Again, that's something you can do by yourself. The steps are exactly the same with what we did earlier. This is the new menu layout I also created, that is different from the other one. I'm just going to just show you the different pages. I could just scroll through them. It's just a different look for our website, and I could just show you. We're also going to do it for tablets. So this is the home page for tablet. I haven't made any changes. You're going to do that. That's going to be sort of a practice work for you. And I also have the mobile. Once again, not much difference. I'm just going to show you we're going to create both the light and dark design for this project. But for now, the first thing we're going to do is start with the moodboard and wireframe. So for this video, this is what we are going to be creating. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do in our project is a moodboard. So I already have one because I've created this project already. I got all these images off of Pinterest, and you can go ahead and do that. So the sources for your images will depend on what you want, or where you like getting your images from. I tend to stick to Pinterest. Pinterest tends to have a lot of images from a lot of sources. So sometimes you may even be on Pinterest and you see images from FreePic, Behance, and Envato Elements. So you will see images that will be hosted in other sites or other services in Pinterest itself. So that's why I tend to stick to Pinterest. And sometimes while browsing on Pinterest, you might find images that are not related to UI UX design, but can also inspire you, and you can just add some design elements you see there and then incorporate it into your project. So this is the mood board I have. So if you want to do the same thing, just go to Pinterest, search for restaurant website UI UX design, and you're going to get a bunch of images. But like I said, I stuck to this set of images because this is what I used to create this project. So let's take a look at some of the images. First, let's take a look at this one. I really like how we have this single dish zoomed in, but in my own design, I want it to be much bigger, and we're going to bring the dish even closer. So I really like the design, and we're going to have the text over the dish. And when I was going through it, I like this clean design. Let me zoom out. Let me zoom out again. And what I want you to notice is kind of a feel. So I just want simple, clean design. I know that some designs don't go with that. Something like this, they didn't really go well with the theme of this design, but sometimes it's not necessary. I'm not even looking to use exactly the same image elements, but I just use it as a sort of visual guide for what I want my website to look like. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. And I really liked this menu layout, so I really like this one. I also had an idea for a different one, so that's why we're going to have two menu layouts in this particular project. But we're not really going to look too much at it, and when we are working on this project, you'll notice that we're not going to refer to our mood board anymore. The reason is not that the mood board is just there for decoration. It's not, I'm not going to refer to it again because I've already created this project. I got the mood board, did the wireframe, did the entire project before I started recording the video all over again. So that's why we'll not refer to it. But when you're designing your project, don't be afraid to refer to your mood board as much as you need to. Let's now create our wireframe. But before we do that, let's create a placeholder. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and I'm going to go to frame, and I'm just going to insert a single frame. Let's change the width to 400 and height is going to be 250. I'm going to go to the fill, and I'm going to make the color, let me just say, a sort of just light gray color. So if you want to use exactly the same color, it really doesn't matter. This is the color I'm using. I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to run Iconify. So right click, and I'm going to go to plugins, and I'm going to run Iconify. I'm going to search for an image icon, and I'm just going to, let's grab this one, and I'm just going to bring it into this frame, and I'm going to close it. Let me change the fill to something, let's see, darker like this. So once again, if you want to use the same color, it's just 707070. And I'm going to change the dimensions to 100 by 100. Next, I'm just going to align middle and align center. So now we're going to use this as, and let's call this image placeholder. We're going to use this in our wireframe. Now we can save this as a component. So I'm just going to come over here, and we're going to create click component, and we have this as a component. So we can just reuse it if we want to, but we're going to use this specifically in our wireframe. Let's now insert a frame. So I'm just going to click on F, and I'm going to select this desktop frame here. And I'm just going to, let's start by renaming this. I'm just going to name this homepage. Let's add a layer guide, the layout guide, and I'm going to add this. Let's change this to columns. We're going to change the count of columns to 12. Let's make the margin 120, and the gutter is going to be 24, and I can just close this. Let me increase the height of this frame just a little bit. Next, we're going to insert this, we're going to use this image placeholder. So I'm just going to insert a copy of this. So I'm going to hold Alt down, and I'm going to bring in a copy of this image placeholder, bring it to the top left corner, extend the width so it covers the entire width of your frame, and just change the height to 1024. Next up, let's insert a text. So I'm just going to click on T, and I'm just going to click on this top left corner, and I'm going to write logo. And the font, in the typography, font is Roboto, weight is semi-bold, size is 32. It really doesn't matter. This is just a placeholder for our items, so the logo of our restaurant, but just to have something there. I'm going to create a copy of this. So I'm going to hold Shift and Alt so I can maintain the same how will I say, alignment. Let's change the weight of this one to regular. Size is let's make it 14. The line height is auto. Once again, it really doesn't matter. This is the placeholder. I'm going to zoom in and change this text to home, and I'm going to create 5 more copies if I'm not mistaken, because our project has 6 pages, so I'm just going to create more copies like this. I'm going to change this text to about. This one is going to be menu. Next up, we're going to have reservations. This is going to be events, and then finally we have contacts. Okay, so I'm just going to select this. I'm just going to bring this to the edge, select all of these, and just distribute horizontal. Oops, that's not the right one. Oh, I selected the image as well, that's why. All right, distribute horizontal spacing. Once again, it really doesn't matter because this is just a placeholder, but I'm going to just align it, all of them, and then I'm just going to group it, so I'll have all of them as a single item to make it easier to handle. Just going to have that here. Let's insert another text, but this time I want to use lorem ipsum text. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to launch the lorem ipsum. So this one is by this div riot. I'm just going to launch it. If you have any other lorem ipsum plugins, you can go ahead and use that. So I'm just going to select here and I'm just going to generate I want just five words, not sentences, and I'm going to generate that. I'm going to select the text box and I'm going to change the size of the text to 64. I'm just going to make the text box auto height and I'm going to increase this, and I'm going to just bring it, let's say, around here. Just change the alignment of the text to center. I'm trying to have this at the center. I'm going to create another copy of this text around here. Let's change the size of this text to 24. Once again, select all of this. Let's select the text and we're going to run the lorem ipsum text once more. We're just going to select everything so I to replace the text that we have there, and let's do 5 sentences this time. Okay, that seems that seems fine. So this time we have 5 sentences, and I'm just going to move it so we have it at the center of our frame like this. Let me just move this down a bit. I'm also just going to bring this down just a little bit. Let's create a copy of this. So I'm just going to hold Alt down and I'm going to create a copy, and I'm going to type reserve a table. I'm going to make this auto width, change the resizing of the text to auto width, and let's make this an auto layout. So I'm just going to use Shift A, make it an auto layout. I'm just going to have it somewhere around here, not really thinking too much about it. Let's add a fill to it. So I'm going to make the fill, okay, it's currently white, we can just leave it like that, and I'm just going to create a copy. So the layout of this is essentially, we have, I want to put it so 4 on this side and 4 on this side, so I'm just going to put it here. So this is the general layout of, let me just change this to view our menu. So this is the general layout of this is our hero section. So we're going to have the header section here. We're going to have our text here. Actually, in the actual project, we're going to have this entire place is going to be a white rectangle block. But I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm just kind of giving myself an idea of what it's going to look like as I build. And this may have too much detail for a wireframe, but when I was learning UI UX design, I went through a lot of process of learning different forms of using creating wireframes. This is the one that works well for me because it has enough detail in it that I won't forget anything. So if I'm coming back to this, I probably won't forget, oh, I really liked a certain layout compared to something else. So it looks very close to the final product, but it's also very simple. So I'm just going to do something else. So this is quite, this image icon is quite dark, and if I put the text over it, it's not going to show well. So I'm just going to come here, select this one, and I'm going to make this lighter. So I have this as A9, 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 and I'm just going to close this, and okay, now it's much more lighter here. So now if I have my text over it, we're still going to have our text, and we can also still see the image icon behind it. Now let's move on to the next section. I'm going to create a copy of this text, so I'm just going to hold Alt down, and I'm just going to bring it here, and I'm going to change the size of this text to 45. Let me also change the alignment of the text to left, and I'm just going to have something like this. Let me also grab a copy of this text. I'm going to use Alt to create a copy, and I'm going to bring it down. Let me move this a bit. I'm also going to change the alignment of the text, and I'm going to change the size of this text to 18, and it's a bit short. I'm just going to increase it. Once again, don't think too much about, like, even if it's not occupying the same number of columns or it's not equal or anything, we are just trying to go for a general layout to guide our final design. So I'm just going to have this here, and some things, it's not everything that will even be in this wireframe. Maybe I may miss some things, I won't add it, and then in the final design I may add other things. So it's not going to be a one-to-one copy of the actual final design. It's just a visual guide. I'm just going to create a copy of this image here. I'm just going to reduce this so the text is sort of in the middle, and I'm going to have my image here. So what I tend to do is, with things like this, even though it's not perfect, it's kind of just guiding me that, okay, when I'm going to come and put it, I may change the alignment of the text eventually, or I may change the size, make it, maybe I may make it longer, or I may make it shorter, but it's just telling me, oh, in this section I already have a layout that I'm going for. In this section, this is how you should position your text. Doesn't look good, I can always change it. So this is, I believe it's just going to be a brief introduction of the restaurant or so. Now this is going to be the sort of will I say menu highlights section. Or once again, let's create a text, a copy of the text. I'm just going to increase the width. I'm going to create a copy of this image and bring it down here. So we want 3 menu highlights. So we want 3 items that we're going to place in the home page, separate from the menu page. I'm just going to create 2 more copies. Let me just go up here, and I'm going to grab a copy of this text. This time I'm going to make it shorter, so I'm going to just remove most of this text, and by the time I reduce it, we should have, let's see, even that is, we could just leave it, it really doesn't matter. I would have loved to have maybe 3 lines, or 2 lines rather, but since it's 3, no worries, we're just going to leave it like that. So this is going to be the description of each item that is displayed here. I'm just going to place that, and I'm just going to create This is going to be a call to action text. I'm just going to select this, remove some of the text, maybe just leave one, so we have just one sentence. I'm going to increase the width, and let me, instead of creating a new one, I'm just going to zoom out, select this button, bring it here, and since this is the highlight of the menu section, it should take us to the menu. So I'm just going to change this to view full menu. So this is the menu highlight section in the home page. Let's create another copy of this text. I'm just going to use Alt and Shift and then drag to create another copy. I'm going to increase the height of this, and I'm going to create a copy of the image, and I'm going to bring this here, and I'm just going to extend the width to the end of our layout, and I'm going to just layout guide, and I'm just going to increase the height of the image. I'm going to insert a rectangle over this image here, and it's just going to go, let me say something like this. Let me just increase this so it's on the layout guide, something like this. Let me now go with a line, and I want to just sort of divide this box into three. Doesn't need to be equal. I'm just going to hold shift so that our line will stay straight, and I'm just going to use Alt and Shift to create another copy of this line, and we should have something like this. I'm just going to come over here, hold Alt, create a copy of this text. I'm going to use my, for me it's still behind this rectangle, I want it to be in front, so I'm going to use my right square bracket to bring it to the front, and I'm just going to extend this so I will have our text on two lines. Once again, it doesn't need to be perfect, we just want to go for a certain sort of design. I know that in this I'm not putting the actual titles. The reason why I'm doing that is I already know what's going to be there. I don't want to start changing it. Sometimes I change it, sometimes I don't. I already know what's going to be there. That's why it's all lorem ipsum text. But if it really doesn't make sense what I'm putting there, it will make sense when we start creating the actual web pages. So I'm going to create a copy of the text. Once again, reduce it to just one sentence, make it auto width, and I'm going to bring this somewhere around here, and I'm also going to create a copy of this button, and this is going to be book now, and I'm just going to move this here, and we're done with this section. So this is what it should look like. So we'll have an image, and then we'll have this rectangle that is divided into three equal parts with our text on top of it. Let's go to the next section, which is, I believe, the customer feedback also. I'm going to once again create a copy of this text, bring it down, and typically sometimes I'll just create like a basic version. So for the customer when I say feedback, I have a design in mind. So this one may be a bit detailed than other things. The reason is I already have an idea of what I want it to look like, so I'll put as much detail as possible, so I won't forget what it looks like. That's what I've been saying anyway. So once again, I'm just going to create a rectangle, bring it over 4 columns. Let's get a bit closer. I'm going to increase this. Next, I'm just going to copy this text to make it easier. I'm going to use my right square bracket to bring it to the front. I may need a second line, so I'm just going to copy that and then paste, so that I'll have 2 lines of text. I'm just going to reduce the width so we can have our text on 2 lines, and I'm going to insert a line. So I'll just click on L, hold shift down, so we can have a straight line like this, and I'm just going to move it a bit, and then I'm going to just have 2 words here, and these 2 words will indicate the customer's first name and last name, or their first name and their initial. Instead of their last name, we'll just put an initial. Next, I'm just going to grab this lorem ipsum text, and I'm going to create a copy. Once again, I'll just use my right square bracket to bring it to the front, and I'm going to use this quotation mark here. Let's make it much bigger. Let me see, it's currently 45. Let's try 100. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to select it and have it kind of around here, and I'm going to create a copy and bring this one here. So I'm just going to hold shift down and then rotate it 180 degrees, and I'm just going to bring this here. So this is exactly how I want our customer testimonial section. I may remove this to rectangle, I may not. I'll just leave it like that. Well, this is what our customer testimonial should look like. So to make it easy, I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to group it, and I'm just going to create 2 more copies, because we're going to have 3 customer testimonials. I'm just going to I'm having an issue. It's not really okay. So this is our customer testimonial section. Next, let's insert, or rather let's just copy this text. I'm going to create a copy holding Alt and Shift, and I'll just drag, and I'm just going to bring this. Let's create a copy of this rectangle. I'm just going to copy it because it's in a group, and I'm going to paste, and I'm just going to bring this over this text. I'm going to use my left square bracket to send this to the back. I'm just going to increase it. Let's see, something like this. I'm just going to leave lorem ipsum as the text, and I'm going to make this auto width. Just going to bring this. Let me just increase this a bit. Let me also come to this group once again, copy, and then click outside the group, so when we paste, it's not going to paste within the group, within this group again. We're going to paste it down here. So I'm just going to paste, and let's change the text. I'm just going to copy it. I'm just going to select the text box, go to plugins, and we're going to run lorem ipsum, and I'm going to select the entire text, so it's going to change it. Let's see, let's make it 10 sentences this time. It's going to be a bit longer, and I'm just going to increase the width. Really doesn't matter, just going to move it. I think I would like, let me just move it up a bit. I'm going to need an image. Okay, so this one is not inside the group, so we can just create a copy. I'm just going to copy it and bring it here, and I'm going to reduce the width so that the edge of this one is touching. Reduce this and then fit it into the frame. So this is what this section is going to look like. Finally, we're going to create the footer section. So I'm just going to create another rectangle. So I'm going to click on my R key, and I'm just going to insert the rectangle. Just going to increase the width of this and also increase the height. I'm going to change the fill of this rectangle to a darker shade. So let's say, so the color we're going to use in this project is a very dark shade of brown. So I'm just going to try and get something close to that color. When we're working on it, we're going to get that actual color, but I just want to create something that looks like it. So this is the code of the color if you want to use the same thing, but it really doesn't matter. It's just for demonstration. So once again, we're going to need some text. So I'm just going to, let's just see lorem ipsum. Doesn't, and we're just going to basically just create a template for the links or whatever we're going to have in our footer section. If you have a placeholder for, sometimes I tend to create footer sections as components so I can just reuse it when I'm creating my wireframe, but for the sake of the tutorial I'm creating a new one. So if you have a footer section, you can go ahead and use it. If you have a footer section as a component in your component library or your assets library, you can go ahead and use that. Let me just increase the size of this text to, let's say 22, and I'm just going to bring it here. Let's create a copy of this text. I'm going to just bring down a copy using Alt and Shift, and let's make the size of this 16. You know what, let's make this one 18. This is a footer section, really doesn't need to be big. I'm just going to create, let's see, 4 more copies. So I will have 5 in total. So we'll have the sort of title, say this is links, or we can add social media, or we could add followers, or we could add services. So we're just going to use this as placeholders, and I'm just going to group this, and I'm just going to create, let's make it 5, and let me just select all of this, and I'm going to distribute horizontal spacing. Finally, let's add those is it disclaimers or those links where you see courtesy, you put all rights reserved, and then you put privacy policies, terms and conditions. We're not going to actually write it out, so I'm just going to create placeholders. So once again, I'm just going to pick this smaller text, one of this smaller text, copy it, and make sure you are not selected on the group, because if you paste it, you're still going to paste it in the group, and I'm going to paste it. So we have it, although it's showing that it's there, it's actually outside the group. And I'm just going to, you know what, let me just type it out. So this will be all rights reserved, and then you have the business name, courtesy, the year, such and such, but we're not going to add that now. We're going to do that as the final stage of this thing. So let's make this privacy policy, and I'm going to make these terms and conditions. I'm hoping it's going to help me out quickly enough. So, oh well, I'm just going to type it out. So I'm just going to move this to bring it to this edge, and we could group it, we could leave it like this, really doesn't matter. Once again, these are just placeholders. If you want to go into more detail, you can, but again, we're going to change this entire thing. So I'm going to select everything and group it. We're going to copy this footer section and use it in other pages, so that's why I'm grouping it, so I can just easily copy it. Well, anyway, that's what the homepage for Wireframe looks like. So we're just going to scroll down. As of now, everything is just kind of there's no much details, but at least it looks like, I don't know if you see when some web pages are, they're kind of loading, but the details haven't come in yet. That's what it technically looks like. But yeah, this is what homepage wireframe. We can move on to the next page. Let's start with a frame. So I'm just going to click on F, and I'm just going to select a desktop frame. This is going to be the about, let's do the menu first. Instead of doing about then menu, let's do menu and about, because it's a restaurant website, that's what matters most. So let's do menu. I'm going to select this, Control Alt C, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to Control Alt and V so that I can have the same layout settings as we had in the previous page. So I'm also going to copy this header and I'm going to paste it here. Next, let's grab this image. I'm going to create a copy, bring it into this one. I'm going to use my left square bracket to send it to the back, and I'm just going to reduce this the height of this rectangle like this. Now let's add a rectangle. I'm just going to have something like this. Let me maybe make it a bit taller and wide. I'm just going to center it around here. So this is what I have, and I'm just going to add in text. So click on T and we're going to type menu. Let's change the size of this text to match this one, and the size of this one is 64. So let's change it to not 64 because we're using 45. I believe it's 45 we're using for. Yeah, let's use 57. Really doesn't matter, we'll figure out all those ones when we're creating the actual test, the actual web pages. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to have our menu and we're going to have this really large rectangle around it, and then we'll have an image behind. That's basically the design I'm going for. It will make more sense when we start designing it, but this is the sort of, will I say, mini hero section for our menu section. So our menu page. I'm going to create a copy of this text. Let's change the size to 18, and I'm going to right click, run lorem ipsum, and generate 10 sentences. Now our text is ridiculously long. I'm just going to reduce the width and just align it to the center of our frame. Let me reduce the width a bit, and I'll just change the alignment of the text to center. I'll just add a button here. Some pages will have an actual button, some pages won't, but just for the sake of the design, I'm just going to have one here, and I'm having issues aligning it to the center. I'm just going to do that and bring down here. All right, and I'm going to create a copy of. I'm just going to come over to this page here, and I'm just going to copy over this text. So we're going to have different mail categories in our menu, and I'm just going to expand this. Let's grab a copy of this image, and I'm just going to use Alt to create a copy. Next, I'm going to reduce the width of this, so it's going to be just on 4 columns, and maybe increase the height a bit. So I want the name and description of the dish, well, that is going the dish to be on the actual image. So I'm going to grab this rectangle, create a copy, and bring it over this image. I'm going to reduce this, let's say something like this, and I'm just going to grab this text, bring it over this, and I'm going to reduce the amount of text to about, is it 4 sentences? I'm going for more like number of lines. Let's reduce the size of text to 16, and I'm just going to move it. If it's centered, fine. If it's not, no worries. I'm just going to place it there. So we're going to have this. I'm going to just select all 3 items, the text, image, and rectangle, and I'm going to group them. Next up, let's create copies to just complete the entire menu. or this section of the menu, I'm just going to use Alt and Shift to just create multiple copies. So for this menu, we're going to have let me increase the height. We're going to have different categories. So I'm just going to, so this is going to be one category. So I'm just going to create another one. So I will just indicate that, oh, it's not just one section. We have multiple categories. So I'm just going to create a copy of that and just drag that down there. Finally, we're going to just add this footer section. I'm going to create a copy and bring it here. So this is what we're going to have as our menu page, and let's just take a moment to look at it. So once again, the actual design will have an image, have this text, and then we'll just make it an auto layout, and then just increase the spacing on the top and the left, change the fill. Anyway, it make more sense when we're designing. But anyway, that's it for the menu page. Next up is the about page. So let's move over here. Once again, create a frame. I'm just going to insert, and it's going to use the last frame I used, and this one is going to be about. And once again, come over to this frame, Control Alt C and Control Alt V, and I'm going to paste it. So for this, what I'm just going to do is select this entire top section and just drag it and it would seem I didn't do that. Oh, okay, I mistakenly selected this one. Okay, if you did it right, no voila. I'm going to just drag this here, and I'm going to change this to about. Okay, so let's select the frame and just increase the height. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to come over to the home page. I'm going to select this text and this image placeholder and create a copy and bring it into this frame, and I'm just going to position it like this. Let me just move this a little bit, and I'm going to reduce this image so that it's going to be on the edge of the last column here, and I'll just leave it like this. Let's now do something else. Let's create the next section. I'm going to create a copy of this text, and I'm just going to extend this so that the text is all on one line. Going to create another copy, and I'm going to increase the size of this to, let's say, 65. Okay, that looks okay. And I'm going to make this 0.1. Let me change the width of this to auto width, and I'm just going to have this here. Next up, I'm going to grab yet another copy of this text, bring it down here, and I'm going to change the size to, let's say, 22. All right, that looks good. I'm going to reduce the width. So we're going to have 4 of these cards. So this is going to be the design we have for this group of cards. So they are going to be 4 items. So I want it, each card is going to occupy 3 columns. And let me see, I'm going to go over to the menu, and I'm just going to grab a copy of this text and bring it here. Let me change the alignment of the text to left, and I'm just going to have this. So this essentially is going to be the design of the card, and I'm just going to select all 3 and then Ctrl G to group. Now this one is supposed to be on 3 columns, and this is obviously on more than 3. So I'm going to select it, and we're going to create 3 more copies so we can have a total of 4. 3 and then 4. Let's now change this text, this number to 2. This one is going to be 3, and this one is going to be 4. I'm going to increase the height of this frame, and I'm just going to select this image, create a copy, and I'm going to bring it here, extend the width, and I'm also going to, let me just try, okay, and I'm going to reduce the height, say to around something like this. Next, I'm going to insert a rectangle using the R key, and I'm just going to draw it around here. Let me just kind of move it so we have something like this. I'm just going to grab this text here, and I'm going to create a copy and bring it here. I'm going to use my left square bracket key to bring it to the top. I'll just remove this last text so I will have everything on one line, and I'm going to, let me see, I'm going to copy this text, click outside of it so I will not inside the same group, and I'm going to paste. Once again, left square bracket to bring it to the front, and I'm just going to bring this here. The text is a bit short, so let's just use lorem ipsum. I'm just going to go to plugins, and I'm going to run lorem ipsum because I want this text to be longer. So this is about maybe 4 or 5 sentences. I'm just going to go ahead and generate this, and I'll just extend that, maybe move this around. I'm going to change the alignment of this text to center. I'm going to leave this one as it is. It already looks centered. Okay, so the last detail is going to be footer, and I'm just going to bring in a copy of this and then add it to our frame, and I'm just going to select. So if you notice that when you click on a frame, it's not going to do anything. You can try double clicking, it's not going to. What I do is I right click and then I click outside. That's how I select from anywhere. Instead of going to the top to select it, I right click and then exit. So that's how I select the frame. I'm going to just reduce that, and that is the simple layout for the wireframe of our about page. For our next page, we can just create another copy of the about page or any other page for that matter. So I'm just going to, so I've been doing it different ways. Sometimes I'll start with a new frame, sometimes I'll start with a copy. So you can do it any way you want. I'm just going to create a copy of this page. I'm going to change this to gallery and change this text to gallery, and I'm just going to select everything here and delete it. Now we have this blank area to work with. So we're just going to have a bunch of images from our website to kind of highlight some aspects of services or food or things like that. I'm just going to create a copy of this text and bring it here, and I'm just going to reduce the size of that. Next, I'm going to also grab this image and I'm going to create a copy. So I want to go for a 3-image layout. All the layouts for each section, we're going to have, I can't remember, we're going to have multiple sections for our gallery, but I want to just, all of them are going to have the same layout. So I'm going to go with the first one is going to have maybe, let's see, I think let's put it, let me still change it later. I'm going to put this on 5 columns. Then the next one is going to be on 7 columns. So I'm just going to move this, and I'm going to increase the width of this. And the final image, I'm just going to add a text. So we're going to have each image is going to have a sort of short description or text underneath the images. So I'm just going to grab a copy of this text and bring it underneath this image. Just going to, let me see, I would like to have the text on 2 lines, so it's going to be a bit long for this. So I'm going to remove, so in total I have So everywhere there's a period, that means that's one sentence. So this is 3 sentences. I'm just going to create a copy of this, bring it here, and then finally I'm going to create a copy of these two, select these two, and then create a copy. And this one I'm going to extend the entire width of all columns, and I'm just going to increase the width of this text. Now we're going to have multiple sections, so this title is also part of these images. So I'm going to select all of them, group. Let me just extend this and move this while holding shift so that I can maintain the alignment. And I'm just going to use alt and shift so I can create a copy while keeping it straight or maintaining the alignment, and alt and shift to create yet another copy. Maybe I'll just move this one a bit so we can have some sort of equal spacing. And yeah, that's it. We just have these 3 image layouts, some text, and our title. And that's it for the gallery wireframe. Let's now create the next page, which is going to be the reservations page. So once again, let me just create a copy of the gallery, and I'm just going to use alt and shift to drag while keeping it aligned. I'm going to change this to reservations, and I'm also going to change this text to reservations. I'm just going to hold alt and then increase the width of this rectangle and just position this in the center here. I'm going to select these 3 items and delete. So what I'm going to do is select these 2 texts, create a copy, and I'm going to select this subheading text, and I'm going to create a copy and bring it into this frame. Let me just, okay. I'm going to select these 3 and group. Let me just bring it up a bit. Next, we're going to need a line. So I just want to go for a very simple text design with just lines separating them. So I'm just going to use L, and I'm going to hold shift down, and I'm just going to create a line, and I'm just going to bring it to the center. Okay, so select the text and the line, create a copy like this, and I'm just going to grab just the text, and I'm going to use alt and shift to create a copy while keeping it aligned. And I'm going to bring this footer section up, and I'm just going to reduce the height of this frame. And you should just have something like this. It's just a simple text, then subheading text, some text in between, and then a call to action button and a line separating it. So this is our reservations page. The next page is going to be the event page. So I'm just going to, let me just start from a new frame. So I'm just going to click on F, and I'm just going to have this. I'm going to change this to, let me just write events for now, and select the frame, Ctrl Alt C and Ctrl Alt V to paste properties. Next, I'm just going to select these items, the image, the rectangle, the text, and the header section, copy it, select this frame, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm just going to change this text to events. It's events and reservations, events and private dining, but we're just going to keep it short for now. Just maybe just align it like this, and I'm going to hold alt down and then reduce the width of this rectangle. so it's smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a copy of this text, bring it into this frame. Next, we're going to select this image, create a copy, and bring it down here. Let's increase the height of this image a bit. Next, let's just grab this rectangle, or you could create a new one if you want, but I'll just create a copy and have this, let's say, around here. And I'll just extend this and also bring this. Let me get closer. Like this. Let me grab this to text, and I'm going to bring it here. Once again, just try and center it. And I'm just going to place it here, and that's it for this short section. So I'm just going, it's going to be a mix of I'm going to use images and also shapes. So it's going to be a mix of 3 different styles. Once again, I'm just going to, let me start with this since I need the subtitle. I'm just going to grab this, bring it here, and I'm going to grab this image and I'm going to create a copy, and I'm going to reduce the height. So I want 3 images, so this one is going to go, it's going to span the width of 4 columns. Grab this rectangle, bring it here, and reduce the size so it looks similar to what we had in the menu page. And I'll just reduce this, let's say to about something like this, and I'm just going to grab this text, create a copy, and I'm going to reduce the text to, let's say, 2 sentences, and I'm just going to clear this, and let me reduce the width of this, and yeah, that actually looks good. I'm just going to try to center it like this. So I'm just going to select this tree group. Now let's create some copies of these images or this group. So I'm just going to create copies here, and next up I'm just going to bring down this title and create a copy of this image again, bring it down here. This time I'm going to reduce the height. Let's have something like this. I also need the text, and I'm just going to have this text here like this, and let me extend the height of this. I'm just going to just create another copy of this and bring it down here. Final detail is the footer section, so I'm just going to grab that here and then add it to this frame. And I'm just going to reduce the height of the frame. So this is what I know. I shouldn't care too much about the alignment, but sometimes when things are off center, it really bothers me. So just going to align that to the center. Okay, so this is what we have for the events and reservations page. The final one is contacts. You'll see that in the hero section, I wasn't really sure, I couldn't remember what they were, so I have 6 here, but in the actual number of pages for our website there's 7. Once again, this is the wireframe, it really doesn't matter. All I'm going for is just the guide. So final page is going to be the contact page. So instead of creating another contact page, because it's going to have the same layout with the this reservations, I'm just going to select reservations, alt and shifts, and I'm just going to create a copy of reservations and change this to contact, and I'm also going to change this to contact, maybe just make it contact us, and I'm going to move this so that it's at the center, hold alt down and reduce the width of this rectangle, and that's it. So this is the wireframe for the desktop. If you want to stop here, that's okay, but I'm going to create a wireframe for tablet and then mobile. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, but I'm just going to go ahead and create that. So I'm going to go, you can just click on frame. I'm going to select tablet and I'm going to use this Android expanded. I like using this one because there's less redesigning when I'm doing this. When you are working on projects, depending on what you're working on, you may not do this. You may have to use, the default state that a tablet comes in. So most people will use their tablets in landscape format, meaning that they've turned the this is why it's wider than it's longer. But the way the tablet is created, it's in portrait format. So you may not be able to do this. So ask your clients, ask who you're working with, ask your team, and that will determine how you choose the orientation. But when it's a personal project for me, I always go with Android expanded because it's easier to design, because it's very close to the width of the desktop, so there's not much changes between the tablet and the desktop. When I want to redesign, I'm going to redesign in the mobile. So I'm just going to bring this down here, and then I'm going to create a copy of this homepage. Hold Alt and then bring in a copy. So I'm going to use this one to create this. Let me change this one. This is going to be, let's indicate that it's tablet homepage. And let me just zoom in. I'll just select the frame. Let's add a layout guide. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change the style to columns. Number of columns is going to be 12, and the margin is going to be 96. Gutter is going to be 24, and I'm going to close that. Let me increase the height of this frame. Now I'm just going to, let me just select everything, and I'm just going to bring this in. So all I need to do is just kind of let me use shift, so it's going to reduce proportionally. I'm just going to, let me do that again, and we're going to have something that looks like this. And I'm going to just select these items, move it in so I saw the edge of that layout guide on the last column, and the logo is going to be on the edge of the column on the left. Select all four of these. I'm just going to group them to make it easier. I'm just going to center it. So I'm not going to worry too much about the font size. Once again, this is just a wireframe. I'm just going for a certain look, and I'm just going to create a copy, and by the end it won't really look that much different, but yeah, it's just a good idea to just have it. And I'm going to hold shift and reduce the size of this, so we have it on 6 columns. If you have the premium version, there are ways you can just the moment you add certain elements, it will change to fit the new layout. But I want everybody to be able to follow along regardless of whether you have the subscription or not. Next, I'm going to select all of this, bring it into this one. Now the only thing we're going to change here, so we'll leave the text sizes as they are. I'm just going to reduce the width of this, move this one. I'm holding shift while I do this so we can have proportional changes in we'll be changing the height and width at the same time. Okay, I could just copy this and then replace it using Ctrl Shift and R, so I don't need to reduce the size anymore. I'm just going to move this. Not really too worried about placement. Going to move this up a bit, and I'm going to reduce that. And this is this section is done. I'm just going to extend the height of the frame. Let's now move on to the next section. So just like I did before, I'm just going to select all of this, create a copy, and just bring it here. Now what I'm going to do is hold shift down, reduce the size of this image, and I'm just going to kind of position this rectangle and do the same thing. How did it look? Okay, maybe just increase it a bit. And I'm just going to grab these other elements and just position it over the rectangle. And let me see, let me just reduce the width of these lines on both sides. As for the text, I'm going to select all three and just reduce their width. Let me select all of them. Spacing, let me see how 50 will look like. Oh, that's too close. That's too much. And we have this. I'll use 75. Just doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just trying to find a spacing that works, for them, just to have similar spacing with what we had in the home page. And I'm just going to place this other text here. And this time I'm not just going to select all three. I'll just do this on one of them, and then I can just duplicate it. I'm going to bring this here, and I'm just going to select this. So what I'll just do is reduce the size of this rectangle, and then move this quotation mark here, and maybe I should just reduce the size of this text so it will fit. Okay, so now we have 16. I don't know if I'm going too fast, but if I am, once again, don't worry too much about the details. Just kind of have a rough draft of what we're going for. Okay, this is what we have, and you notice the space is not fine. It's not touching the edge of the column. No worries, that's okay. And okay, for this one, just going to select all of these, bring it. So what I'm going for is this rectangle being on the edge of frame and also at the center, well, sort of. And I'm also going to do the same for this image, and I'm going to reduce it and just bring it up. Not equal, so I'll just increase the height of this. I'm going to move this text so that it fits here, and let me increase the height of this. For the footer section, I'm just going to place it here. So what I'm going to do is select this group, move it to the edge, select this last one, and then move it to the edge of our layout guide. And what we can do now is select all of them, go over to our alignment, and we're just going to distribute horizontal spacing. Our rectangle is hanging out, so I'm just going to hold shift down and reduce the height and the width at the same time. For this one, of course, we're going to move it here, and I'm going to move this two, and then just bring it here. Let me just fix this rectangle side to be on the edge. Once again, I hope I'm not moving too fast. The goal is just to have a slightly smaller version of this one. You can even try it yourself and see if you can just, do it. If you want, don't worry, I'm going to still do the remaining, I believe, 5 pages. I think we have it. No, we have 7 pages. Okay, we have 6 pages to go. Don't worry, since we already have this one, we already have the text up. It's going to be very quick, with the exception of the mobile, since we're going to redesign parts of the web pages. But the goal is just to have a smaller version of this one. If you want to reduce the size of the text, so you want it to this one to be truer to the dimensions or the proportions as you are reducing it from desktop to tablet, you can just reduce by 8. That's what I tend to do. Anytime I want to reduce text from desktop to tablet to mobile, I always reduce by either 6 or 8. It's a sweet spot that works for me. So what you just need to do, if you want to reduce the text, just change it to this is 6, let's say 64. Sometimes I do 57 just because, but let's say 56, and you just say that okay, now it's smaller. But I don't want to do that because now we'll have to change it every time we're going through it, and I just want us to breeze through this. But I'm going to leave it. But if you want to reduce it, let's say we are using 45 here, I'll say this would be 37. Don't use 37, use maybe like 38 or 36. Maybe just stick to 38. But really, it genuinely does not matter. We just want to have a wireframe and say, oh, this is our tablet wireframe. All right, now done with the home page. Select this and delete. Please make sure that you created a copy of the home page to create this one and then delete. Please don't delete your actual home page. It has happened to me before that I did this and then I mistakenly deleted my web page, and I didn't even notice. It was when I'd finished the entire thing and I deleted it, and I just kind of moved on, and I went back and I was like, where's my home page? And I realized that I had lost my home page, so I had to redesign the home page all over again. So please make sure you are deleting the copy, not the original. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be menu. So I'm going to do what I did before. Just grab the menu and I'm going to bring it here. And for the frame, once again, I'm just going to click on frame, and it's going to create a copy of the previous one we used. Oh no, it created a desktop. This should be, let me see the width. This 1044 is creating the same one of the menu. All right, let me just create the Android. It's still, sorry about that. F. Okay, now I can create our tablet menu. I'm going to come over to this one, Control Alt and C, and I'm going to come over to this one, Control Alt V. So we have the same properties for the layout. And I'm just going to extend the height of this frame. What I'm going to do is come over to this. Let me start with the image. I'm going to copy that, select this frame, and I'm going to paste. And I'm just going to reduce, let's say something like this. Copy this header and I'm going to paste here. And I'm just going to select this text and the rectangle, and I'm going to bring it here. Let me see. Maybe I'll just increase the height of this a bit. I'm holding shift down, so I could just reduce this just a little bit, and I'm going to have this here. Once again, don't worry too much about the details. I'm going to select this text, these two texts, and the text and button, and I'm going to add it to this frame. I'm just going to, that's way of center. I should at least try, I guess. And now I'm struggling to find the center, even though I was like, okay. Alright. let's move on to this sub heading. I'm going to bring this here, and once again I'm just going to do this with one, and then I'll create copies. Let me align it to this edge. I'm going to, let me just ungroup this for now using Control and Backspace. I'm going to hold Shift down and reduce the size of this image placeholder, and I'm also going to do the same for this rectangle. And since we've reduced the size of the rectangle, probably we'll have to reduce, it's already 16, let me just make it 14, and I'm just going to reduce the width of this text. I'm just going to select all of them and then group it using Ctrl G once more, and I'm just going to copy this, Alt and Shift, and I'm going to drag, create one copy, create another copy. Now I'm going to select all three and I'm going to duplicate. Now I can just, so this one we have two separate categories, so I'm just going to replicate that. I'm going to select, I'm going to select all of these, hold Alt and Shift, and I'm going to create another group, and I'm just going to increase the height of this, and I'm going to copy the footer section and bring it into this menu frame, and I'm going to just reduce the height of the frame till it fits. And once again, just to make sure this is not the original copy, I'm going to delete that, and I can just move this to the right, much closer to this. So this is our tablet menu. Once again, if you want to try it, you can do the rest for the other pages, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest. Now let me just create a new frame, and I'm just going to insert a new frame, select this one, any of the two, Ctrl Alt C, and select this one, Ctrl Alt V to paste properties. This is going to be about, I believe, tablet about. I'm going to extend the height of this frame, and I'm just going to grab the desktop about page and I'm going to bring it down here. What I'm going to do is select the header, image, rectangle and text, and I'm just going to use Alt and Shift to create a copy and bring it into this other frame. I'm going to change the text here to about. Next, I'm just going to grab this text, also bring it into this frame, and I'm going to select, let me start with this text. I'm going to select the text and I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to reduce the width so it's on, I believe this was, yeah, on 6 columns, so I'm just going to reduce the width so it's on 6 columns, and I'm going to bring this image into the frame, and I'm going to hold Shift and reduce it till it's on 6 columns. Let me just bring down this text so at least it's sort of centered, and I'm just going to bring your thing down a bit. Next up is this cards, so I'm going to grab all of them, hold Alt, bring it into this frame. Now let's just resize everything. I'm just going to bring it down, move this so it's aligned on the left side of this frame, and I'll just reduce the width. Let me make sure, reduce the width for this one, same with this, here. I'm going to move this one, and then finally I'm going to reduce the width so it's all on 3 columns each. Let me just select all of them and also bring it down just a little bit more. And finally we have this, and let me just select all of this, bring it into this frame, and I'm just, let me see, okay, it's on the edge of our guide, so I'm going to move it till it's at the edge, and then I'll just select just the image and the rectangle, hold shift and reduce the dimensions. And let me reduce the text for this one. Let me use 38, and I'm just going to move this a bit. Finally, we have our footer section, and I'm just going to create a copy and bring it into the frame. And there we go, that's the tablet about section. So once again, I can just select this and delete it. Let's move on to the next page, and let me just create a copy of this. I'm just going to create a copy of this page. Okay, next is going to be gallery. I'm going to bring it here. I'm just going to rename this tablets gallery, and I'm also going to change the text here to gallery. I'm just going to select everything in this page or this layout, and I'm going to delete it. Grab this group and I'm going to bring it in. Since I'm not really thinking too much about, the dimensions and stuff, I'll just regroup the entire group. So I'll resize the entire group, sorry. I'll just hold shift, and then I'm going to reduce this. So I know that the resizing of the text is going to change, so I can just, for these ones that are 2 lines, I'm going to make them auto height. For this one is going to be auto width, and we already have something like this. So in this one we have 3, so I'll just make more space for 3 different groups. I'll create one more and then another one, and the spacing looks fine, so I'm just going to reduce the height of this one. And yeah, that's it for the tablet gallery. So I can just select this one and delete. Let me see okay, we have reservations, so let me just create a copy of this, and this is going to be tablets reservations, and I'm going to change this text to reservations. I'm going to move it around so it's on the center. Hold Alt and then increase the width of this rectangle so it will be a bit wider. I'm just going to select everything in this layout with the exception of the footer, and I'm going to delete it. Now I'm just going to grab a copy of reservations, the desktop reservations page, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to bring it into this frame. I'm not going to change anything for this one. I'm just going to move the footer upward, and I can go ahead and delete this. The next is going to be events. Let me just create a new frame. Let's rename this to, what was it again? Events. Okay, so I'll just rename this events and select this frame, Control Alt C to copy, Control Alt and V to paste properties. I'll just increase the height. I'm going to select everything on this top, the text, the header, this rectangle and such, and I'm going to use Alt and Shift to create a copy while also maintaining the alignment. And I'm going to change this text to events, move it to the center, or at least try to get it to the center, and then hold Alt, reduce the width of this rectangle. Let's zoom out. I'm going to grab a copy of the events page, the desktop events page, and I'm going to bring it down here. Let's zoom in so we can work on this layout. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to create a copy and bring it here. I'm just going to deselect the text while leaving this to selected, and I'm just going to hold Shift and reduce the dimensions. I'm just going to move this text. Let me move it to the center and also the middle. I'm going to do the same for, you know what, I'm just going to select one so I can just resize. I can just after I resize it, I can just copy and paste. I'm going to bring this in, so this has to be on 4. I'm just going to reduce the height. I don't really bother about the text because the resizing of the text is going to change, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Just create 2 more copies like this. I'm going to select these 3, bring it into this frame. I'll hold Shift down, reduce, and then move this to the center and just bring this to the edge of this layout. Maybe I could move this a little bit. Okay, so this is just a copy of this. I'm just going to select these 4 items, bring a copy down, and increase the height of this crate. Just grab a copy of this footer section, and I'm going to align it and then reduce the height of this frame. And I can just go ahead, select the desktop version, and I'll delete it, and that is the events page. Next is, okay, we're on the final one. Yeah, we're on the final one for contact. So just like we did when we're creating this one, we're just going to create a copy of this, and this is going to be contact, and I'm going to change this to contact us. Move the text so it's in the center, and I'm just going to also just reduce the width of this rectangle. It's a bit off center, so let me just, all right. Okay, that's it for our tablet contact, and again that's it for the tablet's wireframe. So this is why I said I tend to use the landscape version, because it makes redesigning easier, and even redesigning the actual web page is not just the wireframe, it's going to be much easier. So we can move on to the mobile version. So let me start with this. I'm just going to create a copy and bring it way down here. Let me just move this a little to the side, like this. Let's start with a frame. So I want to create the wireframe for the overlay. So I'm going to just use F and I'm just going to draw a frame. Let me make the width 245 and the height is going to be 445. And I'm just going to rename this frame overlay. For the color, I'm going to just use a darker color. Really doesn't matter what the color is. This is the wireframe. I'm going to start with this header link. So I'm going to bring home first and then about. Next is going to be menu. We have reservations, events, and finally contacts. I'm going to select everything on this. I'm just going to align them all to the center, and I could just distribute vertical spacing, and I'm just going to move it up till they are centered. Let's change the color of the text. So let's have it as white, and I'm just going to close that. So we have the overlay for the mobile layout. Now let's insert a frame for our mobile. I'm just going to click on F and we're going to expand the phone option. I'm going to use the iPhone 16 Pro Max frame and I'm just going to bring it down here. Let me rename this. I don't think I need to specify that this is the mobile or phone layout. I'll just name this homepage. And let's go over to the layout guide. So we're going to add a layout guide, change this to columns. Let's expand this so that we can change the settings for the columns. Number of columns is going to be 4 and margin is 24, gutter is 16, and I can just go ahead and close this. So since we already have our header icons or the icons that will come in the overlay, we can just grab our logo. So I'm going to come over here, grab our logo, and I'm going to maybe just move it. When we're designing it, we'll figure out where it's placed. I'll just put it there for now. Okay, maybe I should have done the image first. No worries. I'm just going to increase the height. Alright, I can grab this image, hold Alt, and then drag and create a copy. I'm just going to reduce the width so it fills the entire width of this page. Maybe just reduce it a bit. Let's see something like this. Once again, it really doesn't matter. I'm just mine is height is 899, maybe 900 if you want to use exactly the same one. It really doesn't matter. So now this image is on top of our logo. I'm going to use my left square bracket and I'm going to send this image to the back so we can see our logo. Now we can add every other thing. The images at the back. Now we can add other things to the top of this image. Let's start with this text. I'm going to bring in this text and you can see quite large for our layout. So I'm going to make the size 36. Reduce this so that our text is on 2 lines and then center it. Maybe I could bring it down a bit till we have something like this. Maybe I should just reduce the width of our text. Next, I'm going to grab this text box. Let's make the size of the text 14. And I'm just going to reduce that. Reduce the width so it's on the edge of the columns on the left and on the right. Next up, let's grab our buttons. I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to bring them into our frame. Once again, text is really large, so I'm just going to select the text, change the size of the text in the buttons to 12. I'm going to do the same for this one, make the size 12. And I'm just going to move this and just have a column in between them. It's giving me quite a bit of an issue. All right, let me just select all of them. Let me see. Okay, this looks good. So we are essentially done with the hero section for our mobile layout. So this is why I said I tend to make this one quite easy on myself, because most of the redesigning will make more sense in the mobile version. But once again, when you want to design, don't just go ahead and do landscape. Ask first. If it's a personal project, you can do whatever orientation you want and just present it, but typically it's better to stick to portraits when designing for tablets. Now let's move on to this layout. For this section, I'm going to have the text on top, the image at the center, and then this text at the bottom. So I'm going to bring in this. So for subheading for this particular mobile layout, we're going to use the size of our fonts as 28, and I'm just going to leave the alignment of text like this for now. I'm just going to grab this image, bring it into this frame, and just reduce the dimensions. I'll just leave it so that the image is on the two edges of our layout guide. And then finally, I'm going to grab our text, going to bring it in, reduce the width, and I'm going to change the size of the text to 14. Let's now move on to this next one. So this one, we're going to just arrange it all in one line. So I'm going to select these two and then group, so to make it easier for me to move them. So I'll start with this subheading, and I'm going to reduce this, change the size of this text to 28. I'm going to grab this, bring it in, and I'm not going to change anything about this image. So sometimes, in order to just make things simple for myself, even when it's not aligned, even in my actual design, sometimes I'll just leave certain things as they are from the desktop to the mobile and just align them in the center. So that's what I tend to do. If you don't want to do that and you want it to be on the edge, so what I just did here is what I'll actually do in the what I'll do in the actual design. So I do that sometimes. That's why I go from desktop to mobile, desktop to tablet, desktop to mobile. So I'm just going to create, select this group, create 2 more copies, and you'll notice I didn't change the size of the text. No worries. Really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I'll select this text, change it to 14, and this, since it's quite large, I'm just going to change it to 12. And I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm just going to move this here. Okay, so let's move on to this next one. I'm just going to select the frame and then bring it down so that what I'm working on and where I want it to be is more aligned. I'm going to grab this subheading text, and I'm going to, let me see, have it here and change the size to, is it 28? Yep, 28. And I'm going to reduce the width, and I'm going to grab a copy of this image, and I'm going to have it on the edge of the leftmost column, and I'm going to reduce the width so it fits, maybe extend the height a bit. Now I'm going to grab, let me select the lines, the text, as well as the rectangle, and I'm going to bring it into the frame. Let me kind of center it first, or at least try to. Then I'm going to reduce the width of the rectangle. Let me just leave it here. I know it's not centered, so I'm going to reduce the width of this rectangle till it's about here. this one to, or we could just use hold alt down so we can change the length on both sides at the same time. I'm going to do the same for this one. So now we have our text on 3 lines like this. I'm going to do the same for this and this. Going to, this time I'll have to use alt and shift so the line doesn't rotate. Okay. The edge of the line is on the edge of the rectangle, so I'm using alt and shift and hold down alt and shift. So you should have something like this where in this case the image is here and then we have this text and this rectangle off to the side. But in the case of this one, it's going to be on the top. I'm just going to move it closer and I'm just going to, I didn't change the size of the text. Let's make it 14. It's now longer. You can just leave it like that, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to grab these two texts and then bring it into this frame. This I'm going to bring this. Let me change the size of this if both will fit on the same line. 14, and this one is going to be 12. Okay, both of them are going to fit on the same line, so I'm just going to place both items on the same line, and that's it for this one. Now let's do this is a client testimonial section. I'm going to extend the height of my frame. Starts with the subheading, reduce the size to 28, and I'm going to reduce the width. I'm just going to grab one of these, and if it fits, I won't change any details. So I'm going to place it on the middle, and this sort of fits. So when I'm actually redesigning it, I may reduce it so that this quotation marks will be within the column, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'm just going to create 2 more copies. Okay, that's it for that one. Now next is this one. I'm going to have this rectangle behind. Going to just place it here, grab the subheading text. I'm going to reduce the size of the text to 28. I'm going to grab the image, place it here. This time the rectangle behind is on the edge of the actual frame, but for the image is going to be on the leftmost edge on the first column and on the right edge of the 4th column. Let me just increase this a bit, and I'm going to grab the text. Let's change the size of this text to 14, and I can just go ahead and reduce the width. Let me just reduce the size of this rectangle a bit. Okay, I'm trying to see if the spacing, once again, really doesn't matter, but I'm just going to at least make an attempt. Let me select this one, raise it up a bit. Same with this one. I'll just leave that one where it is, and we're going to work on the footer section. What I'm going to do is, let me ungroup it first so to make it easy to manage. I'm going to select this rectangle first, reduce the width so that it fits on the width of our frame. And I'm just going to bring that in. I'm going to select one of these links. I'm going to bring one here, bring one on the second edge, so we have a total of 5 links there. So I'm just going to copy it, and we're going to have this. I'm going to increase the height of the frame so it's just a little bit, so I can just extend the height of this one as well. And all rights reserved. I'm going to bring it here. Privacy policy, terms and conditions. Will it fit? You know what, I'll just put this one underneath like this. Okay, that should be about it for our very simple footer section. I'm just going to select everything and group, and that's it for the home page of the mobile layout. That's the wireframe anyway, so we can move on to the next page. I'm going to select this page. Once again, I just want to make sure. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Let's insert another frame. I'm going to click on F so we can create a new frame, and I'm just going to click and insert another iPhone 16 Pro Max frame. I'm going to rename this menu, and I'm going to copy the layout guide settings. So Control Alt C to copy the properties of that frame. Control Alt V to paste properties. Let me extend the height a bit. I'm going to start with this image, so I'm going to copy this one over, and I'm going to reduce the height of this frame to something like this. So currently it's 336. Anything within that range is fine. I'm going to insert a rectangle because that's what we're going to need. So I'll just click on R, and I'm just going to insert a rectangle right around here. Let me just increase the width a bit. Maybe I'll just increase the height, just let's see, something like this. So currently width is 347, height is 155. You can use the same dimensions if you want. I'm going to copy. I didn't hold shift, so I want to make sure it's aligned. Alt and shift, and I'm going to create a copy of the logo here. Now I can just grab a copy of this text and bring it here, and this is supposed to be 36, so this is going to be menu. Let me change the resizing to auto width, and I'm going to align this to the center and the middle of this item. I'm just going to leave that rectangle like that. Now I'm just going to zoom out, and I'm going to grab a copy of the menu, and I'm going to just bring it closer, and I'm going to start with this text and this button. So I'm just going to bring it into this frame. I'm going to just bring this one down a bit because we're going to resize this. So the length of the text will be the length of the entire column, spanning all 4 columns from the right to the left. Let's change the size of the text to 14, and I'm going to change the size of this text to 12, and I'm going to bring this here. Next, I'm going to select this subheading and bring it into this frame. Let's reduce the size of the text first, 28, and I'm going to reduce the width so that it will fit on this layout. Then I'm just going to select one of these and bring it into this frame, and let me start with this text. I'm going to change it to 12, and one by one, this is a group, but I'm just going to hold shift down, reduce that, and then with this rectangle, same thing, hold shift down, going to reduce the dimensions, both the width and height at the same time. And for this description, I'm going to see if it doesn't fit, then I'll reduce the size of the text again. So I've currently reduced it to 12, and it just about fits. Let's not worry too much about it. When we are creating the actual web page, we can figure out by then we'll know what text size will work for it. But for now, let's go with this. So we have the first one. Now we can use this to create copies. I'm going to just hold Alt and Shift, create one on this side, select both items, and I'm going to create another set of copies. So we have a total of 6 items, and I'm just going to select everything including the subheading text, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm just going to create yet another set of copies, and then finally another one. And I'm just going to create space for the footer section. So I'm going to hold Alt, create a copy, and I'm just going to I still need a bit more space. Let me increase the height once more, and I think this spacing looks fine. Reduce this, and yeah, we have a menu wireframe layout for mobile. So once again, I can just go ahead and delete this. Click on F and insert another frame. So for me, it's creating another menu frame. I can just bring it here, and this one is going to be about. I'm going to select this one, Control Alt C, and then Control Alt V to paste properties. What I'm going to do is select everything here, including the text and the button, and I'm going to create another set of copies here. I'm going to select this to make it easier. I'll just okay, it's currently set to center, so I'll just about. So I'll just type, is it about or about us? Okay, I just wrote about in this one. So I'm just going to create a copy of this frame and bring it here. Next, I'm going to select this subheading, and I'm going to reduce the size to 28, reduce the width like this, and I'm going to grab this image, bring it in, hold shift down, and then reduce. I'm going to grab this text, bring it into this other frame, and I'm going to reduce the width. Let's change the size of the text to 14. Next up is this one. Once again, change the size of the text to 28, and I'm going to just bring this in and align it to the center. Same with this one as well, and then finally this one. I'm not going to change the text sizes in these cards, I'll just leave it as it is. If you want to, you can change it, no worries. Let's now work on this one. So for this one, I'll start with the image. I'm trying to grab the image. Create a copy, break it into this other frame, and reduce the width on both sides, and I'm going to increase the height. Now I'm going to grab this rectangle, bring it into this frame, and I'm going to reduce it and increase the height. Let's start with the subheading, bring it into the mobile layout, and I'm going to change the size of this text to 28. I'll have to reduce it. Now just try and bring it to the center, grab this text, change the size to 14. And I'm just going to sort of have it here, and I'll just let me bring this text, let's see, right around here, and that's fine. Finally, I'm just going to create a copy of this footer section here, and I'm just going to reduce the height of the frame so it fits. And yeah, that's it for the mobile layout, the wireframe for the about page in the mobile section. Let's create another frame, so I'll just click on F, and I'm going to just insert a new frame. This is, I believe, the gallery. Once again, I'm going to select this frame, Ctrl Alt C, select this one, Ctrl Alt and V to paste properties, and I'm going to copy all of this and then bring it into this frame. I'm going to change the text here to gallery. Let me zoom out, and then I'm going to grab a copy of the gallery page on the desktop format or the desktop orientation, and I'm going to, this one is going to be very straightforward, so control and backspace to ungroup, and I'm going to select this subheading, change the size to 28 and reduce the width so it's going to fit into the frame within the layout guide. I'm going to bring this up. Let me select this two, and I'm going to bring this into the frame. Let me reduce the size of this text to 14. I'm just going to reduce this. As for the image, I'm holding shape down while I do this, but I think I'll prefer it to be more rectangular, and I'll just bring this closer. So let me take it up a bit. Okay, I'm just going to create 2 more copies, and now I'm just going to zoom out and then select everything from the subtitle to the last text, and then I'm going to group, zoom out, Alt and Shift to create another copy. Do that one more time, and I believe that should be it. Yeah, see, because we just have 3 categories. Yeah, and I'm just going to copy the footer section into this one. Not long enough, no worries, I'll just increase it. Oops. Okay, that's it for the gallery wireframe. So this is it. We just have 3 categories. All the images are the same size and the text is just the same. So that's it for the gallery. Let's now create the next one. So once again, F to create a new frame, and this one what is it? Reservations. So I'm just going to create a copy of this and bring this here. I'm going to first of all rename this frame reservations. And I'm going to select this one, copy the properties, and I'm going to paste properties. Select all these items at the top of the page or the top of the frame, and then copy it into this one. And I'm going to rename this reservations. I'm going to, let me just bring this in as it is. I could just increase the spacing for now, just in case. So I'll select the text at the top, change the size to 28. Let me change the alignment of the text to center, change the size of this text to 14, and the text within the button I'm going to make it 12. I'm just going to select all items and align them to the center. Let me just resize this too, with the exception of the button. Now it's just the spacing, so I'm just going to bring this closer. Same with this one. Now we're going to need a line. I'm going to bring the line here, hold shift down, and just reduce the width of the line. I'm going to move this just a little bit. Now select this and create another copy, let's say here, and this time just the text. I'm going to create another copy, and that's it. I'm just going to grab a copy of this footer section and add it to this page, and I'm just going to reduce that, and yeah, we are done with the reservations page. I can just select this and delete it. Let's move on to the next page, which is going to be the events page, and I'll just click on F and insert a new frame. So this is going to be events, and I'm going to select this frame, copy the properties, and then I'm going to paste here. Now I'm just going to grab just this top section, and I'm going to copy it, and this is going to be events. Okay, so I can go ahead and grab the events page for the desktop. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is take this image, bring it into this frame. I'm going to reduce the width. Now do the same for this rectangle. This time it's just going to go through the width of the layout guide. Maybe I could just increase the height of the image, and then I'm going to bring this text in, change the size to 28, reduce the width, let me also reduce it just a bit. I could just change the alignment of the text to center, and for this text I'm going to bring it in. Let me get the same width as the subheading, and I'm going to change the size of the text to 14. So since this one is much smaller, I could just reduce this till we have something that looks like this. I'm going to move on to this one, and I'm going to change the size of this text to 28. I'm going to reduce the width, grab this and bring it into this one and just align it to the center. Let me increase the height and select this card, create 2 more copies, and I'm going to zoom out. Next up is this one. Grab this subheading. I'm going to change the size to 28. And I'm going to grab this image and bring it into this frame. This one I'm just going to hold shift down. It's a bit smushed, but I'll just make it a little longer, and text I'm going to bring into this frame. Reduce the width, and then I'm going to change the size of the text to 14. Finally, since this section and this section is the same, I'll just duplicate it. So I'll increase the height. Let me get closer. Select the subheading and these 3 cards, and I'm going to hold Alt and Shift so I can create a copy. Final detail, of course, is our footer section, and I'm just going to bring that into the frame and then reduce the height. And yeah, that's it for the event layout for our wireframe. I'm just going to select this page and delete. Finally, the last one is the contact us page. That one is going to be straightforward. It's just a duplicate of the reservations, and the contacts page have essentially the same layout. So I'm just going to create a copy of the reservations page, and this is going to be contacts. Is it contact or contact us? I know I did contact us in the actual page, but as for this frame's name, I can't remember. So this is going to be contact us. And yeah, that's it for the wireframe. I hope that I wasn't too fast and things didn't go too quickly, but like I said, all you need to do is kind of look at what I'm doing and then just try and place everything there. But even if you just miss a few steps and such, again, it really doesn't matter. This is the wireframe. We're going to take things much more slower when we're building the actual web pages. Well, that's it for the desktop, tablet and mobile layouts for our wireframe. If you want, you can try creating a portrait version of the tablet if you want to. I think I did that in a different project, the photography portfolio website. I actually did that in that one, but in this one we're not going to do that because we're creating 2 versions of this website, so we have a lot of things to cover. But that is it for the wireframe section. In the next section of this course, we are going to create the desktop homepage.